In every age, the good old days were always memories to cherish. Although no one ever thought they were good at that time, for every age has consisted of crises that seemed intolerable to the people who lived through them. Looking back now, one can really say, indeed, these days were good. My name is Tolulope Apinke Medebem, ní Adeolu, and here is my good old days story. I hail from Oderemo, Ogun State, but I was born and bred in Lagos, Island Maternity to be precise. My dad was His Royal Majesty Oba Funso Adeolu. He was an educationist, a seasoned broadcaster, actor, and finally he became an Oba, while my mom, Olori Adedayo Atinuke Adeolu, was a thoroughbred educationist. She was an English major. She rose through the ranks working for Lagos State Ministry of Education, where she actually retired as an education director. I am the fourth of 8 children and Olori's first. That's my mom. I grew up mostly with my aunties on Lagos Island, Ologbo, where my mom would drop me off and then pick me up over the weekend. My aunties were more like my big sisters then, and it was so much joy being with them. And guess what? We actually still deal the same way, even now as adults. They formed a core part of my childhood, and today, I proudly say anywhere that was raised by 4 mothers, my mom inclusive. So imagine if these 4 mothers of mine got a whiff of my bad behavior in school. The story would never end, never. Each one of them would take turns to scold and punish me for bringing the family name and that of theirs to disrepute. Those were days of communal training where the community played a major role in child training and development. As much as these women, my moms, as much as they loved us and tried to ensure we charted our lives course correctly growing up, they couldn't always protect us from everything. I must say, I had my own share of bullying. I started wearing glasses at a tender age. These glasses were as thick as the Coke bottom bottle. Yes, such was the thickness of my glasses. I could not see without wearing them. Different names people like us were called. Those days hurt, Sha. But the ability to move on regardless of all those snide remarks, developing a thick skin, and believing in what I can achieve through the grace that I have been blessed with by the Most High, saw me through those moments. In fact, it honestly contributed to who I have become today. I started my primary education at Yaniwura Nursery and Primary School in Ilupeju, Lagos, and then later moved to Estate Nursery and Primary School within the same Ilupeju environment. My secondary education was twofold. I started at Federal Government College, Ugwalao, where my uncle was the principal. And when he was transferred to Federal Government College, Sokoto, I naturally followed him to Sokoto, of course, to continue my secondary education. Such was the trust parents had on guardians in those days. The need to monitor a child and ensure that he or she was under a very strict control, and tutelage of a mentor was considered essential for the moral and academic growth of such a child. Oh man, Sokoto taught me about being human. You may wish to ask, what does that mean? It meant that was where I learned that everyone was first human being before his tribe and ethnic learnings. At Federal Government College Sokoto, we did not have or understand the divide of tribes or thongs. School then were not only about academics, but they were out to develop character as well. And that's what truly being educated is all about. We all grew up together, and today, quite a number of us are still friends, regardless of whatever situation or conditions we are presently in. Today, I am pretty much a people's person. All that matters to me about you as an individual, first and foremost, is the chemistry, not where you come from. And all this is, I believe, thanks to my orientation. Oh, testing times 2. I mean, when a growing child will always be a child. Yes, I remember the story of caustic soda. In those days, I think my mom used it to wash the bathroom. It was a plastic beverage container kept away from peering eyes. One day, she sent me to get something from her room, and I saw the container. I opened it and saw this sugar-looking substance and wondered why she kept it in her room. And guess what? I licked it, and that was it. I started foaming. I ran into the sitting room, and everyone went berserk, confused and scared. My mom lifted me and started running towards the hospital. I was rushed to the hospital where I was stabilized and brought home. On a good day, after all the drama, I would have still been beaten. But I think they believed I was traumatized enough, and she looked me in the eye and said, "That's what happens to thieves." No amount of beating could have shamed me like that, man. That was it. The tendency to steal perished forever in me. The first time my dad slapped me will be a story for another day. It was clear in my head, the biblical dictate of spare the rod and spoil the child. Over and over, my father would say that he had no inheritance he was leaving for any child. His greatest legacy to all of us, according to him, would be our education. So whatever he wanted to study, he was willing and ready to make it happen. Strangely, Dad's fame as an actor of repute wasn't something we thought about. I mean, it was just work as far as we knew. The only times it became a subject of discussion were when people saw you with him or found out he's your father and wanted to know what life is like living with him, or if he actually didn't have hands based on his character in the famous Village Headmaster serial. Ha ha! Quite nostalgic. I recall how being his daughter impacted on me when I proceeded to Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, where I obtained my bachelor's degree in arts from the Department of Dramatic Art. I had a lecturer who scored me rather low because he felt and actually knew I could do better. And he said to me, "To whom much is given, much is expected." That was a turning point of sorts in my academic. In those good old days, we were built to be resilient. We pushed on basically because we wanted to make our parents and ourselves proud. In the hierarchy of values, we were taught that honesty and integrity reign supreme. And I am very proud and thankful for these orientations and training. So what went wrong? Is it the same today as yesterday? I doubt. Is the situation hopeless? Certainly not. Is it possible to change the narrative? Absolutely yes. Like the lights that cannot be hidden under a bushel, like the faith as a mustard seed, I believe the glory of Nigeria will shine and we shall blossom again if we begin to plant into the hearts and minds of people these time-tested values of truth, honesty, integrity, and sincerity of purpose. Personally, I don't think the challenge is solely upon today's youth. It's our inability to create the right mentorship programs. The youths tend to emulate what they see around them. So if change must come, if tomorrow must be brighter, then the right attitude and values must be reenacted today. The onus lies on each one of us to keep showcasing those things that we want emulated. Change can and will happen through a collective will and joint resolve to make it happen. Change begins with each and every one of us standing together in truth and believing that truly we can make the difference. We all deserve a better Nigeria, better than those glorious days we speak about today. To this end, I join Sir Shemore Badejo in this collective desire to have a brighter future for not only our children, but for us too. God bless Nigeria. God bless all of us.